And these tools were being used when it came to sentencing, when it came to parole. It was also being used as an assessment when individuals came into corrections, and just a big predictor when it came to public safety. And then I was looking at the kinds of data points and the kinds of questions we were asking, and I felt that there was something that just didn't feel right about these risk assessment tools, and deciding on a calculation or formula to let you know whether or not a human being had the potential to reoffend, or whether or not an individual who had served time was ready to re-enter society. And I felt there was something human missing from that. And I felt that there was this heavy over-reliance on science and mathematics, and people believing that because the risk assessment said so, that it was a neutral decision. It was an objective decision. And it had me wondering about the data that was being used, and whether or not data from a system that has been historically biased and prejudiced against Black and brown people would give you a non-biased decision on their faith and their future. And at the same time, ProPublica did an expose that looked at the criminal justice system, looked at how algorithms were rewriting justice or arraignment by algorithms. And the same questions that I was asking, the same questions were there. And it made me say that, wait a minute, but why isn't criminal justice speaking about it? The data scientists have started to talk about it. The journalists are talking about it, but we're not hearing the criminologists and the criminal justice specialists or the law enforcement specialists. Also, within that time, I was already speaking and training law enforcement on predictive analytics, intelligence-led policing, precision-led policing, and all these different data points that we were using to put cops and dots and to deal with hot spots, and to try to ensure that the resources, were they manpower or finances, were really being done in a way that would be efficient and effective when it came to policing. So many questions, so combined with the sentencing concerns and the over-policing of Black and brown communities and the denying of individuals parole, all of these things made me say, wait a minute. There's an ethical question when it comes to the application of an algorithm, particularly in a criminal justice context where it's about life and liberty. And someone had to step in and voice that. And while there were others doing it, I felt that criminal justice and criminology need to be represented, and criminologists have to play a critical role when it comes to co-designing the justice system using emerging and new and emerging technologies, digital technologies like artificial intelligence.
I think the big misconception is that people think that, well, just because you're using math or science, it's going to be objective. But to your point, if the data points that you're collecting in have been based on systematic racism and bias, that's going to impact the decisions that AI is going to be making. I'm curious about your conversations as you begin to discuss these really important issues with people in criminal justice.
Well, I didn't have an opportunity to discuss it with anyone in criminal justice. I actually Googled and saw how many criminologists are really speaking about this. And I saw that there was one criminologist out of one particular university, and he was looking at it more within the context of crime prevention and crime control. So how do we use these algorithms to, apprehend individuals who are about to commission a crime or who have commissioned a crime? And I felt that we needed a different type of approach, not only the predictive approach, but not only the preventive approach, but a more empathetic and compassionate approach, because what we were allowing an algorithm to do was to make a decision on someone's future and not allowing that individual to challenge the algorithm. Because a critical aspect of the criminal justice system is the ability to face your accuser. And if that accuser is an algorithm and there is a black box and there are questions about accountability and transparency and explainability, how does the individual who already feels so disempowered in the criminal justice system get the power to challenge an algorithm? And that's where I was very, very concerned. How do I demystify this data to allow individuals to know it is not a law unto itself? An algorithm is not a law, but it was being used as a law in the criminal justice system. And we had to think about that. So criminology was not really speaking about it in a term of advocacy, a term of let's be cautious. And I had to have those conversations with data scientists and other ethicists when it came to data and technology and AI, because the conversation was not happening in the criminology fraternity. It is happening now. And I'm hoping that that voice is amplified just a little more.
Thank you so much for checking out this clip from the Data Talk podcast. To watch the full episode, you can either go to the Experian blog, the URL is experian.com/datatalk, or you can click on the link which is found in the description of this video.